You don't remember. The last time she looked at you like a man, not like a husband, not like a partner, but a man she desired. That moment, every married man fears it. But most of us, we don't see it coming. It doesn't look like yelling. It doesn't come with slammed doors or teary ultimatums. It comes in silence. It comes when the woman you love stops reaching for you, stops laughing at your jokes, stops leaning her head against your shoulder just because. It comes when her eyes stop lighting up, when you walk into the room, when her body, once soft and warm to your touch, starts to stiffen, just slightly. When you brush her hand, it's not rejection, not yet, but it's the beginning of something no man wants to admit. She still loves you. She still cooks. She still texts you from the store. She still sleeps beside you. But deep down, she stopped wanting you, long before she stopped loving you. You try to tell yourself it's just age, hormones, stress. Maybe this is what long marriage feels like. But then one night, you lean in for a kiss, and she tilts her face away. Not rudely, just absent-mindedly, like she forgot you were still trying. And in that moment, you realize something hard to say out loud. There's a difference between sharing a bed and sharing a life. So many men miss the signs, or worse, they chase harder, thinking more compliments, more effort, more flowers will fix it. But desire doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence, to stillness, to a different kind of strength. So today, I'll show you 3 quiet signs she no longer desires you, and how to bring that fire back, without begging, without chasing, and without becoming someone you're not. Just calm power, intentional space, and the one move that might wake her desire up without saying a single word. It never starts with a slap, or a scream, or a slammed door. It starts with her hand, not reaching back. You hold it like you always have, but she doesn't squeeze. She just lets it rest, limp, like it forgot what holding used to mean. At first, you think she's tired, maybe distracted. Maybe her mind is just somewhere else. But then it happens again, and you begin to notice. She's still beside you, but her body no longer leans in. You wrap your arms around her in the kitchen. She smiles, but her body doesn't soften. It stays upright, untouched on the inside. You kiss her neck. She doesn't flinch, but she doesn't tilt her head either. She lets it happen. That's all. And that's the quietest heartbreak of all. Not rejection, not resistance, just absence. A woman doesn't need to push you away to make you feel the distance. She just has to stop moving toward you. She doesn't hate you. She's not angry. She might even still love you. But désir, that spark that once made her pull you closer, it's fading. Not because you did something wrong, but because for too long you did nothing. You stopped noticing her, and now her body has stopped inviting you. Because for a woman, touch isn't just skin to skin, it's soul to safety. She needs to feel held, not by your hands, but by your presence. And when presence disappears, so does permission. She may still let you touch her. She may still respond when you lean in. But her body is quiet now. Not because she's closed, but because she no longer feels open. It's not her fault, and it's not entirely yours either. It's the weight of years, of moments missed, of affection offered too late, after she already stopped reaching. There was a time she leaned into your hug, fell asleep with her hand on your chest, pulled you into her space like gravity. Now she turns her back in bed, sleeps near the edge, touches you less and less, not because she wants distance, but because closeness no longer feels safe, because you can't crave someone who stopped seeing you, and you can't be vulnerable with someone who only shows up when things are about to fall apart. So she holds herself, and slowly, the space between you becomes more than physical. It becomes emotional. And once emotional distance takes root, touch becomes hollow. She might still kiss you, still sleep next to you, still say, "Good night." But if her body doesn't lean in, if her hand doesn't tighten when you reach, that's the sign, the one most men ignore, until it's too late. Because it's not that she doesn't want to be touched, it's that she doesn't feel known anymore. And without being known, touch feels like a performance, like a habit, like a task to complete, but not connection. And if you felt this, the slight tension, the empty smile, the pull-away hug, don't panic, don't chase, don't overcompensate. Just pause, breathe, and ask yourself, when was the last time I truly saw her? Not her body, but her being? Because when presence returns, so can desire. And when you learn to see her again, to hold her soul, not just her skin, she might lean in once more. And if she does, don't let go so easily next time. First it was her hand. Now, it's her eyes. There was a time she looked at you like you were home, not because you were perfect, but because you were hers. And she felt seen. That glance across the room, the soft smile behind it, the way her eyes lingered half a second longer than necessary. That's how you knew you were wanted. Now, you talk, and she nods. You sit across from her at dinner, and she looks past you, to the food, to the window, to her phone, anywhere but your face. She's not ignoring you, but she's no longer searching you. And that difference is everything, because a woman's gaze is sacred. It's her softest invitation, the first thing she offers when she trusts you, and the first thing she pulls away when she doesn't. Her eyes were once the place where love lived, where you could still find her, even when words failed. But now, she's closed that door, not with a bang, but with silence. You can feel it. You tell a story, something light, something funny, and glance up, hoping to catch her grin. But she's looking down, cutting vegetables, folding laundry, checking a notification that wasn't urgent. She hears you. She responds. But the connection? It doesn't land. And you start to wonder, when did her eyes stop holding mine? She used to search your face, for clues, for meaning, for the man she married. Now she looks just long enough to be polite, to get through the conversation, to say, I heard you, not, I feel you, because there's a difference. Eye contact isn't just about sight. It's about surrender. To be looked at and look back is one of the most vulnerable things two people can share, especially after years, especially when things are quiet. When a woman looks into your eyes, she's saying, I still want to meet you here. When she avoids your gaze, she's saying, I've tried, and I don't know if you're still in there. It's not anger. It's resignation. She stopped reaching through her eyes, because she stopped believing she'll find you on the other side. And yet, she's still here, still cooking dinner, still talking, still showing up, which means the door isn't locked, just closed. And maybe all she needs is for you to look at her with the same depth you once did. Not a glance, not a quick nod, but a look that says, I'm back, and I'm staying. Because when her eyes pull away, it's not rejection, it's grief. The grief of not being seen, of opening her heart 1,000 times and not being met halfway. The grief of saying with her eyes, please look at me, and getting a distracted nod. So she stopped looking, because looking, without being seen, hurts more than silence. But she didn't lose the desire. She buried it, in a place where it wouldn't ache so much. And here's what most men don't know. When she avoids your eyes, she's not saying she doesn't care. She's asking quietly, silently, for you to care first, to see her before she shows herself again. So if you notice it, if you catch that subtle turning away, the flicker of hesitation, the empty glance, don't push, don't demand, look at me, don't guilt her for drifting, just stay. Stay present, stay soft, stay still long enough for her to feel safe, unfolding again. Because the woman who once looked at you with warmth, she's not gone. She's waiting, just behind her eyes. And when she feels safe again, she'll look up. And when she does, don't look away. There was a time when your words made her glow. You'd call her beautiful, and she'd blush. You'd crack a bad joke, and she'd roll her eyes, but the corners of her lips would still curl up. You'd pull her close, press your forehead to hers, and she'd lean into it, fully there. Now, you tell her she looks amazing today, and she says, thanks, without looking up from her phone. You try to tease her, like you used to, and she chuckles politely, then turns back to whatever she was doing. You reach out to touch her cheek. She doesn't flinch, but she doesn't soften either. And maybe the worst part? She's not cold. She's not cruel. She's just quiet, unmoved. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's tired of caring alone. She used to light up when you walked into the room, used to sparkle when you gave her a compliment, not because she needed validation, but because it felt real when it came from you. But now, those moments feel transactional, like habits, like a husband checking a box. She doesn't feel chosen. She feels managed. And you can feel it, that absence in her response. That way she receives your affection, like someone being handed a flyer on the street, glances at it, nods, and moves on. You didn't cheat. You didn't yell. You didn't leave. But somehow, she's still gone. Gone from the inside. Gone from the part of her that used to reach back. Because when affection becomes routine, when it's only given after weeks of distance, or right before intimacy is expected, it no longer feels like love. It feels like an obligation, like you're trying to fix a crack, with duct tape and timing. And maybe you've noticed, you say all the right things now. You show up. You compliment her more than you used to, but it doesn't land. Because for years, she poured love into a well, and got nothing in return. And now that you're trying, she doesn't trust the well anymore. She doesn't reject your affection. She just doesn't believe it. Not yet. Not until you prove that this time, you're not just passing through. That this time, your words are not tools. They're reflections of seeing her, of knowing her, of wanting her without agenda. Because affection, real affection, is not about sweet words in convenient moments. It's about consistent presence in the quiet ones. And when a woman stops reacting, it's not because she's cold. It's because she's weary. Weary from smiling when it didn't matter. Weary from being the only one reaching. She's not shutting you out. She's shutting down. Emotionally. Gently. To protect what's left. Because being vulnerable with someone who's only half there is exhausting. So if your affection feels unanswered now, don't take it as rejection. Take it as a mirror. A reflection of what went missing long before the silence. And instead of pushing harder, why aren't you responding? Don't you believe me? Can't you see I'm trying? Pause it. Let your actions speak. Let your presence settle. Let your consistency rebuild the trust. Your compliments alone can't carry. Because when a woman stops reacting, she's not closing the door. She's waiting to see if you'll keep knocking, gently, patiently, without demanding to be let in. And if you do, if you stay, if you soften, if you keep showing up, without needing applause, she might begin to believe again. Not today, not tomorrow, but maybe one night, you'll call her beautiful. And this time, she'll look up, and you'll see it. That old flicker, that light you thought was gone. And this time, it won't be polite. It'll be real, because you earned your way back, one quiet moment at a time. So what now? You've seen the signs. You've felt them in your bones. The silence, the distance, the disconnect. And maybe your first instinct is to fix it, to buy flowers, to compliment more, to plan a weekend getaway, to hold her tighter than before. But here's the hard truth most men don't hear. You can't earn back her desire by chasing it. The more you plead, the more you overcompensate, the more you try to win her back. With affection, favors, flattery, the more she pulls away. Not because she doesn't care, but because what she's craving isn't your effort. It's your energy, your core, your calm, your frame. Because when a woman starts losing desire, it's rarely because you didn't do enough. It's because somewhere along the way, you stopped being the man she used to feel drawn to. Not the loud one, not the charming one, the centered one, the man who didn't need her validation to feel worthy, the man who didn't chase love because he stood in it. Somewhere in the years of trying to keep the peace, to fix the mood, to not rock the boat, you gave up your grounding. And now, your presence feels anxious, heavy, dependent. So here's the paradox. The way back is not forward, not yet. The way back is pause, not distance, but depth. And that starts with what I call weighted silence. Not the cold shoulder, not passive aggression, not walking away, but a sacred stillness. A stillness that says, I see where we are, I feel it too, And I'm not going to fix it with noise. I'm going to honor it with presence. Weighted silence is not punishment. It's power. It's what happens when a man steps back, not to retreat, but to regather himself. You stop over-explaining. Stop asking, "What's wrong?" every night. Stop reacting to every sigh, every mood swing, every cold shoulder, and instead, you ground. You return to breath. You take space. Not away from her, but back into you. Back into the man who knows who he is, even when her gaze is elsewhere. The man who doesn't need to prove his worth because he lives it. And yes, she'll notice. At first, she may test it, challenge it, see if it's real, or just another tactic. But if you stay calm, if you stay present, if you stay centered, without blaming, without begging, she'll feel the shift. Because weighted silence creates a vacuum, a pull. When done with intention, it invites curiosity. It says, "I'm still here. I still care, but I'm no longer chasing breadcrumbs of affection." And in that stillness, if you hold it long enough, something stirs in her. Maybe not right away, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, she'll wonder, what changed in him? Why does his presence feel stronger now? Why does part of me want to turn back toward him? That's when the reattraction begins. But only if, in your silence, you've been doing the real work. Not sulking, not pooting, not playing mind games, but rebuilding, refocusing on your own strength, on your habits, your health, your calm, your grounded masculine presence. Because that version of you, the one she first admired, he's not gone. He's just buried beneath years of soft compromise, of shrinking to make peace, of forgetting your own gravity. This is your time to remember it. And when she feels that energy, not the words, not the tactics, but the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth, that's when her body starts to trust you again. Not because you convinced her, but because you became a man worth desiring again. She didn't stop loving you. She stopped feeling safe to desire you. And no, it didn't happen overnight. Desire doesn't vanish with one mistake. It fades in the slow erosion of presence, in the dull rhythm of routine, in the weightless comfort of a man who once led with gravity, but now only gives to avoid the storm. You gave her affection, but not depth. You gave her attention, but not energy. And somewhere between the bills, the errands, the silent dinners, she began to forget what it felt like to want you. But here's the truth you need to hold close. Desire doesn't die. It goes dormant. It folds into itself. When it doesn't feel seen, it goes quiet. When your presence becomes predictable, it retreats. When your kindness loses its edge, its weight, its masculine tension, what she's craving isn't more flowers, not more compliments, not more apologies. She's craving polarity, presence, a man whose stillness isn't passive, but powerful. And that man, you've been him before. You can be him again, but not by chasing, not by fixing, by remembering. Remembering how to walk into a room and carry calm, how to sit beside her, without trying to make her feel something, but letting her feel you. So tonight, don't say anything. Don't reach for her. Don't fill the space with nervous affection. Just be there. Let your stillness speak what your words never could. Let the weight of your presence remind her, I haven't left. I've just come home, to myself, and I'm ready. When you are, she may not respond right away. She may not even look your way. But something in her body will register it. That shift, that strength, that you've returned to your gravity. And in time, if you hold that energy, not for her, but from within you, she'll lean back in. Not out of guilt, not out of habit, but because the man she once desired is finally sitting beside her again.